At EROAD, we believe fleet management doesn't have to be problematic. It should be effortless, connected, and future-ready for your heavy-duty operation. With a reliable, accurate technology solution, you can elevate your fleet's performance, improve productivity across your business, monitor events as they happen, and reduce costs and downtime. Get on the road to better fleet management and safer, more productive operations. Go beyond the basics and visit EROAD.com today.
Welcome to Loaded and Rolling. It's Thomas Watson, and the topic for today, gonna have a great show on. May need to pull another IFB. My audio is messing up a little bit, but before we dive in, we're gonna be talking about fleet safety. It's a very, very important topic here. Something that if anyone's given a rise of nuclear verdicts, if anyone's been paying attention, it's something that is probably the most important thing on the road for fleets to be paying attention to today. And so we're going to be welcoming the folks on at EROAD to talk to us about it. If you don't know, we're talking about ways that be proactive, going from a reactive to a proactive stance. And one of the most important ways is utilizing AI, telematics, hardware, pairing it all up together. So our guests for today are going to be Mark Davidson, Executive Vice President of Sales at EROAD and also does marketing, and then Soumya Puri, Senior Product Manager and Chapter Lead at EROAD. Gonna have a good talk, and let's pull y'all in. We'll start with Mark. We're gonna get the intros out of the way. So Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then Soumya will talk about you, and then we'll dive into the questions.
Yeah, great. Thomas, thanks for hosting us. Mark Davidson, I lead sales and marketing for North America here at EROAD. Only been with the company less than 6 months, and I've really enjoyed helping EROAD work with our customers, keep the drivers safe, protect their assets, protect their loads. So pleasure to be here with you today, especially be here during National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. So couldn't have asked for better timing to have our podcast with you today.
It's the week, and I think it's definitely a very timely thing to talk about. And Soumya, tell us about yourself as well, and then we'll dive into the details.
Yeah, thanks so much. My name is Soumya, dialing in actually from Auckland, New Zealand. Been at EROAD 8 years, and I lead safety and sustainability. So I help produce products that enable fleets to take steps around fleet safety and sustainability, be that decarbonization and management of zero-emission vehicles. So yeah, really passionate for safer, more sustainable roads, and very, very excited to be here today.
We're excited to have you both on. We're going to start a Q&A. I'll give Mark the lead first here. Let's look at, first off, the most common risks that fleets are facing on the road today. You all collect the data. You have the information. What are some of the risks we're looking at?
Yeah, and I'm going to answer your risks question really with what's most important to when I'm talking to some of the largest fleets in our country, really well-run enterprises. Driver experience, driver retention, driver safety is in the forefront of everything, because when you take care of your driver, the driver's going to take care of everything else. And what we're going to talk about today with regards to driver safety is how we're going to use technology to really help the driver stay in the moment when it comes to driving safely, being aware. And I'm going to tell a story. Last night, unfortunately, I was driving home from a horrible Monday Night Football loss. My Philadelphia Eagles gave a game away at the end. Maybe I was a little distracted, but actually in this case, I was focused on watching a large truck in the middle lane driving, really wanting to get over to the right. And there was a passenger car in the blind spot of the truck. This driver had great awareness. They knew that car was there. And I'm sitting there going, if that truck moves over and creates a situation, they're going to be blamed, and they're not at fault, because there's no way that car should have been in that situation. So what we're talking about today is really giving the driver real-time tools, awareness, capabilities to avoid situations like that. And then in a situation, if a situation happens, despite all the best efforts, make sure that driver's protected so that they're not wrongfully accused of creating an issue when, in that particular case, if something bad happened, it surely would have been the fault of the passenger car driver for being in the no-go zone.
I think that's important. I've seen dash cam footage as well. Even when we're looking at it, the technology has gotten so much better. I was looking in the tiny front mirrors to see, and it's like, I can't even tell. You have a split second when they get hidden in that zone because of how it's cut. Looking at that over the years, talking about how the evolution, we're now moving from mirrors to sensors to cameras to AI. Is this something that's been a relatively recent phenomenon? Because I remember back when I started trucking in 14, we didn't really have any of this cool stuff. We were still just trying to make sure you could fill out an ELD.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the technology has it's been adopted, but it's been more of a reactive. Hey, something happened. Let's go back and see why it happened, and maybe try to avoid it in the future. And we've gotten to the point now, and Soumya, who's leading this charge for us, is going to talk about when you have AI at the edge. Now the technology is going to help avoid a situation, give the driver the awareness, the coaching, the feedback real time, so that they remain focused and they remain safe. And I think that in the 10 years or so, Thomas, that you're talking about, yeah, you've seen it go from better mirror technologies to beginning with dash cams. Now we're having AI looking at the road. We're having AI that can look at the driver and make sure that we have more of a comprehensive and complete view to avoid a situation in the first place.
And let's toss it over to Soumya. Talk a little bit about how this AI and some of this innovation, because this is bleeding edge stuff. This is very fascinating technology. Let's talk about how it's working in the safety domain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think bleeding edge is definitely the right word. Very much, if you wind the clock back, I think what was innovation in the video telematics space was to have a nice connected dash cam that would be filming footage while the vehicle is operating, have it as easily accessible for fleets in the event of an incident or a member of public complaint, or even if it's just for health and safety, being able to contextualize, a common harsh brake, a harsh acceleration, or harsh cornering event. But I guess what you're seeing now is AI has really crept in. It's made it very, very accessible for fleets and for vendors to incorporate AI with video, and through that bring all kinds of different insights. And the value that AI brings ultimately is helping to surface various different poor driving behaviors and safety violations, right? Making them forefront for fleets to have additional understanding. Right, I have a driver, they're carrying all my various different loads, traveling all these distances. They're starting to understand that actually they have a tendency perhaps to habitually get onto their mobile phones while traveling these distances, or perhaps within the yard, constantly making yard moves with their seatbelt unfastened. So this is a pure reflection of the technology state that we have today. We're not having to also load trucks with supercomputers to be able to run these complex, sophisticated AI models. We're able to deploy them on miniaturized and quite capable dash cams and surface all of these various, be that road specific AI insights or driver specific AI insights. It is quite innovative.
So we have reducing risks in 2 or 3 different ways, and diving into those things: seatbelt use, if mobile phone, so driver distraction as well, but then also driver behavior. So is that one of the cool things with the AI is that as you're collecting more data and you're getting more sample sizes, it's actually getting more accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing I really wanted to mention is drivers are challenged in a myriad of ways, right? So they've got challenges around sort of their well-being, be that fatigue. They're constantly being on, constantly having to be present in the moment. Monitoring a whole range of different things inside the cab and outside the cab. They're facing stresses, be that the pressures of delivering a load by a deadline to a specific route. Sometimes they're even witnessing accidents and trauma or bad driving firsthand and having to deal with the repercussions of that. And there's also another aspect of wellness, which is a lot of the times they're feeling lonely, right? There's a lot of solo driving that takes place. They're traveling away for long periods from their families and friends. And finally, the nature of the job requires them to be context switching all of the time. So although driving is their primary focus, there are a bunch of gauges that they're having to monitor, right from the speed gauge to fuel gauge to even their compliance hours. And so there's so much going on, and I think this is a avenue where AI can come in and help bring their attention and lessen that cognitive overload to the right things that matter in the moment, right? Be that keeping sufficient distance from the vehicle in front, be that to put away their mobile phone because they've pulled it out due to the fact that a notification's come through. And you're absolutely right. Another byproduct of AI is it's not perfect day one, but if you have a good system that captures that feedback that users are providing and drivers are providing, then actually there is this learning cycle where it is performing even better gradually to the point then you've got a highly trusted model.
And that brings us to the system itself. Common challenges fleets are experiencing managing the AI dashcam platform from installation to usage. We're going to start with Mark. This technology is revolutionary. We are, it's a very, compared to the rest of trucking, it's very revolutionary in terms of changing how your workflow works. Let's talk about some of the fleets you're talking to. What are the biggest challenges as you're trying to integrate and manage this platform?
Yeah, it's there's a couple things. One, we're looking at ELD and DVIR from kind of protecting what I'll call the envelope of the driver day, the driver shift, etc. And now we're talking about bringing in these cameras into the workflow. So one of the biggest challenges is getting driver buy-in. That this is not about Big Brother keeping track and trying to be punitive if they see you doing something wrong. It genuinely is about having a companion, having a co-pilot, somebody who's going to remind you of if you're driving too close, someone who's going to make sure that you stay focused, you're not driving drowsy, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say the absolute biggest challenge is driver buy-in and doing it in a way that the driver sees that it is for their own good. The second thing, and Soumya mentioned it, AI models are not perfect. They've come a long way. The fact that we're doing AI at the edge is outstanding. We don't have to send up to the cloud in order to be able to process and detect what's going on. And the models will continually get better. And that we do that by putting cameras out there and getting cameras using and reviewing and making sure that the feedback and the coaching that the drivers are getting is accurate. So I would say those two things together independently are a challenge. And then when you put them together, if a driver says, okay, I believe that you want this camera in the vehicle with me for my own good, but it detected something that's not right. It was inaccurate. I was not following too closely, or I did not roll through a stop sign, et cetera, et cetera. So making sure that buy-in continues not only in the use of the camera, but also in the continual improvement and real-time feedback so that these models get better, the driver can depend on them more, the fleet leadership can depend on the results more, et cetera. So we all have to understand that we're early stages of it. It's better, significantly better than it was, significantly better than nothing. But we all have to be in this together that the end result is something that will be completely reliable. It will have a dramatic impact on driver safety, which will then, of course, really protect the fleet from all the bad things that can happen on the road.
And I want to get Soumya's thoughts as well. When we're looking at even installing the hardware, getting the buy-in, changing the culture on the front end, are there any challenges, especially with platforms, the software, the usage? Do fleets also have to do some changes in their back office workflow as well to account for this new tech and new opportunities?
Yeah, I think definitely challenges are multifold. So I just want to take the string that Mark was talking around driver pushback, and the reality is that where EROAD sits and where my team sits is the middle of the fleet manager's use cases and needs from a dash cam solution versus the driver pushback. And so for us, it's about treading the line in the middle very, very carefully and pragmatically, right? So, fleet managers want to use the solution for their safety and operation requirements, and drivers just want to get on and do their jobs and protect their privacy as much as possible. So I think, being able to think from the eyes of, how do we manage audio recordings? How do we provide the accessories so that they can cover off the lens caps when it's their personal time, and how can we also be mindful when are we recording footage and when are we not recording footage, and if we are offering additional features and functionality, always keeping the driver privacy front of mind. In terms of platforms, absolutely. Some of our customers have definitely aired their frustrations around jumping between multiple different platforms for multiple different parts of their operations. So that's definitely a pain point. It's a training pain point. It's an operational pain point, day-to-day pain point. And so being able to provide one cohesive, intuitive experience means that, that's just one place to go. It means that they can see all of the vehicle, the jobbing, the load, the driver information all in one view. And so that brings significant operational benefit. And it means that they can also interpret the same sort of information in the same way. And finally, I think, in and around adoption, it's critical to take a sort of like a stepwise approach to modernizing your fleet. So, with cameras, you can start from everything for contextualizing your harsh events through to sophisticated AI and fatigue insights. If you were to go down the route of turning on everything all at day one and creating a bit of an internal big bang, it will create a tsunami of change, right? You're going to have all of this wealth of insights coming through, and perhaps yourself and your teams are not quite ready to take action on it. So, sort of what we've seen with our pilots and what we've seen as feedback from our customers, where they've seen success, is taking a gradual, incremental approach. Starting small and ensuring that at each stage, each small change that they make, they're consistently communicating it, consistently informing their drivers of what to expect, so that they continue to have their buy-in throughout the journey.
And I think this ties into something Mark had mentioned earlier in the segment: proactive versus reactive approaches. We're making these changes and stuff. When we're looking at that in that transition, Mark, talk about some of the processes that fleets are doing to approach it, because it does. Even I used to manage fleets. You're so used to just dealing with it a week later and having to handle the problems, that it's a weird feeling to be able to proactively have this data so fast.
Yeah, and Soumya talked about it could be data overload, it could be information overload. So they are dealing with a significantly larger quantity of data. But I think the big thing is shifting the mindset from, kind of a punitive reacting to something, an incident or an event that you wanted to avoid, and going more into coaching and making sure that the back office is complementing the coaching that the drivers are getting real time in the vehicle. Because, through better coaching, it's just going to yield a better result. Giving the driver an opportunity to review what was detected and give some perspective as well, which would be good for the back office. So I think what we're talking about really is about a learning cycle that's being created for the driver and the back office to collaborate together on making sure that they understand what are the things that are affecting safety. As I mentioned earlier, hours of service and DVIR is two examples of things that we're doing to make sure that kind of the environment is safe. Between the driver, the back office, I think there's a lot of behavioral things. There's a lot of workload things. There's a lot of decisions that the drivers need to make. So turning it from a react into a coaching and learning environment, it's hard to do. The information's there. The data's there. Can we turn data into information that's actionable, insights that are actionable? It's a steep curve, and that's why we work with our customers to kind of start with a limited amount of data, and over time grow the capabilities of what AI is going to be detecting, because it's hard to learn everything at once. So we want to give people almost a curriculum base way of adopting and learning, instead of just throwing all this information at them at once and hope that they can process it and do something different with it. So it's exciting, the opportunity, but if we don't kind of pace ourselves on it, it's overwhelming, and then it's not going to have the intended effect. And then that would be disappointing if we're not really having a dramatic impact on the safety of drivers, because that's really what it's all about.
And I think, Soumya, there's a great point about how preparing for the future of it and having that kind of stair-stepping. Talk a little bit about that process, because for folks who are interested in trying to adopt this package, the software, the hardware, trying to see if it benefits their fleet, what are some of these first steps that we need to start kind of thinking about as we try to digest this radically new and more safe technology?
Yeah, totally. So I think firstly, it's understanding which your vehicles are going to be deployed with this technology, and starting small, right? So the way we've developed the solution is that you're able to deploy the same hardware once. So you're incurring all of that upfront installation and operational challenges. But in terms of the deployment cycle, you can look at it over a 6-month period, a 12-month period, an 18-month period, and there's a factor of how large your fleets are. But starting off with perhaps a non-AI solution and selecting, right, which are your critical events that you want to take advantage of and have insights around. So, with our Clarity Edge dashcam product, there's a list of about 15 different AI models. And as a fleet management team, it's about sitting down with your safety management, going, right, which are the critical, are we most interested in mobile phone usage? Are we most interested in seatbelt use? Are we most interested perhaps around lane departure violations or rolling stop violations? So starting off perhaps with say 3 of these key detectors, rolling them out and seeing sort of what insights are you getting, and then from there deciding, right, what are the different operational tools and processes we need to establish so that we're able to respond and take action to this quickly. But saying that, there's also an element of taking advantage of the built-in in-cabin spoken alerts that are produced by the dashcam. So that's another unique advantage. Is the reality is with the wealth of insights that are coming in, you're not necessarily going to be scaling your coaching and training teams proportionally, right? So how can you take advantage of in the moment coaching by the camera? And statistically also we've seen that is perhaps the best way to firstly surface some of these latent behavioral needs that drivers have, but also to take actionable steps to lowering and reversing some of these habits in the first place. And to give you an example, we have one of our fleets that have been using the solution, and what we did was we took a bit of a month snapshot of all of the various different insights collected by the Clarity Edge dashcam product. And what was really, really interesting is 99.3% of the various different driver behavior insights would have not been detected by a standard non-AI dashcam or telematics device. And to give you a flavor in terms of what the top 5 driver insights were, they were yawning, distracted driving, mobile phone usage, smoking, and driving without seatbelt. So these are, in some cases, enough for a disciplinary process to kick in. So the key thing is to start small and incrementally add on the various things that matter to your fleet, and constantly have an internal review process to ensure that you're getting the right insights and doing the right things with it.
And Mark, we have a little bit of time left, a little under 3 minutes. Is that kind of looking ahead? Future forward-looking statements. Usually a safety and compliance department handles this. Driver training has been ad hoc by the manager. Does this open up the new door that we may see additional processes dedicated towards helping coach and develop drivers, because now we have a ways and means of doing so instead of waiting for someone to call the number on the back and complain?
Yeah, I think you're onto it. The example Soumya just gave, super important. Early on with the customer, we want to have the conversation. As much as we'd love to sell AI cameras to every fleet out there, we got to make sure, what are you trying to accomplish, right? It always starts with that basic question, because if you want to deploy this technology as a way to do things different, to be more proactive, we're at the beginning of what that looks like. Not only kind of day to day based on the real-time coaching, based on some of the insights that get sent to the back office, but organizationally, do you need to do more coaching or less coaching based on what the cameras are detecting? It tells you what to coach on. When you do bring your drivers in, it helps you streamline and focus the conversation more. What does that? How does that change things operationally, behind the scenes, or organizationally? I don't think we have it fully figured out yet. But we know that we're really excited about that we're on a path that's going to make these conversations and the overall impact significantly different. And we like to get very close to our customers, have these conversations, review, some of the early insights that we're getting from the cameras, and figure out what can we be doing. Can we be sending little training videos to the driver, so real time they can get better in, more proactive coaching, training, et cetera. So I'm pretty excited about the future, because the conversation has already started to change from a, punitive, why did you do that, to, real time, let's avoid it and make sure that statistically overall, all the drivers are driving safer.
It's finally becoming a partnership from not only the providers, the drivers, the fleets. And speaking of partnerships, conversations, if folks want to learn more about EROAD, get in contact, check out the product. What's the best way to find out?
Soumya, I'll let you take the lead as the product leader here.
Yeah, jump on our website. We've got some great material out there, product sheets, product videos, and a whole bunch of different use cases of how this technology has benefited fleets. Do remember that we've seen AI cameras often result in a 20 to 30% decrease in accident-related costs due to reduced accidents and faster claim resolution. So, the technology is there, the AI is there, it's performed really, really well. And yeah, very, very eager for the wider fleet industry to get into it and start taking advantage of the solution as well.
Perfect.
And what I'd like to add on behalf, if I may, sorry, Thomas, on behalf of Soumya. So our AI-enabled camera is launching in North America this week. So although we've had it deployed to many customers already through pilots and deployed already in New Zealand, actually tomorrow is the day that our AI camera really kind of hits the mainstream. So perfect timing for this again, being here during Truck Driver Appreciation Week, launching this new camera that represents, and Thomas, you found the word partnership. I struggled to find that word, but that is absolutely the word that we're talking about here, is this partnership between us and the fleets, and in the fleet back office and the fleet drivers themselves. So really exciting times.
It's exciting times indeed. Congratulations on the upcoming launch as well. Looking forward to seeing the developments. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on the show. That's a wrap for this show. If you're just joining us, we'll be live. Actually, this is on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you may find your podcast. Join us next week as well. A lot of great content coming up. We'll do it live.